criteria I would like to inform you. Selection criteria. So total 8 teams participated in this. Already 6 we completed. This is the 7th one, and one more school is left out after the lunch will take up. So out of these 8 schools, we will select only one. So that will participate at the zonal level. Okay. And from each team, we will select 6 best speakers who will give the prizes to them also. Okay. And this criteria, I would like to tell you the marks allotted to each and every item. Discipline and decorum is concerned, 10 marks we are giving. And observation of parliamentary procedures, 20 marks. Already it is known to you, but once again I would like to reiterate so that. And next one is selection of subjects for the questions and supplementary questions and quality of answers, there too, 20 marks. Selection of subjects for the debates, 10 marks. Quality of the speeches delivered and standard of debates, 30 marks. General assessment of the performance as a whole, 10 marks. So this is the criteria. So discipline you have to mention. Already you have selected the topics. And I cannot tell you, you can do something else. Right? So same thing, whatever it is possible, but confidently you have to present and follow the discipline and procedures of the parliament. Okay? So wish you all the best. Thank you.
Honorable members, the Honorable Speaker.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I welcome you all to the 36th National Youth Parliament. I hope this session will be fruitful and informative. Members to take the oath or affirmation, Secretary General, please.
Shambhavi, who stands elected as MP from Darjeeling Harbour constituency of West Bengal, will now come to take the oath or affirmation. Shambhavi, please. Ma'am, would you like to take an oath or affirmation?
Oath, please.
In which language would you like to take the oath?
Hindi, please. मैं शांभवी युवा संसद के निचले सदन का सदस्य निर्वाचित होने पर ईश्वर के नाम पर यह शपथ लेती हूँ कि मैं सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा के साथ भारत के संविधान के प्रति जैसे विधि द्वारा स्थापित निषेध रखूंगी कि मैं भारत की संप्रभुता और अखंडता की रक्षा करूंगी और यह कि मैं जिस कर्तव्य का पालन करने जा रही हूँ उसे निष्ठा से निभाऊंगी।
Mr. Rayan, who stands elected as MP from Tumkuru constituency of Karnataka, will now come to take the oath or affirmation. Mr. Rayan, please. Sir, would you like to take an oath or affirmation?
Oath, please.
In which language would you like to take the oath?
Kannada, please. ನಾನು ರೇಯಾನ್ ಶಶಿ ಯುವ ಸಂಸತ್ತಿನ ಕೆಲ ಮನೆ ಸದಸ್ಯನಾಗಿ ಚುನಾಯಿತನಾಗಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ನಾನು ಭಾರತದ ಸಾರ್ವಭೌಮತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸಮಗ್ರತೆಯನ್ನು ಎತ್ತಿ ಹಿಡಿಯುತ್ತೇನೆ ಎಂದು ಕಾನೂನಿನ ಮೂಲಕ ಸ್ಥಾಪಿತವಾದ ಭಾರತದ ಸಂವಿಧಾನಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಜವಾದ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಮತ್ತು ನಿಷ್ಠೆಯನ್ನು ಹೊಂದುತ್ತೇನೆ ಎಂದು ದೇವರ ಹೆಸರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಮಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತು ನಾನು ಪ್ರವೇಶಿಸಲಿರುವ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯವನ್ನು ನಿಷ್ಠೆಯಿಂದ ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸುತ್ತೇನೆ.
as we meet today, it's my duty to inform the House about the sad demise of our esteemed former colleague, Shri Manohar Joshi, a veteran politician, educationalist, and a public servant. Shri Joshi began his political journey at the grassroots and rose to occupy some of the highest constitutional offices in the country. He served as the Speaker of Lok Sabha and was also the Chief Minister of Maharashtra and also held ministerial portfolios at the union level. He served with great distinction as member of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. A committed and a visionary leader, he worked towards education and urban development. Shri Joshi passed away in Mumbai on 23rd of February 2025 at the age of 86 due to age-related health complications.
Sir, I rise to pay tribute to Shri Manohar Joshi, a statesman whose demise has left a void in Indian politics and public life. A man of humble beginnings, he dedicated his life towards public service and empowerment of the common man. As the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, he brought transformative changes and worked for the upliftment of all sections of the society. As the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, he maintained the dignity and decorum of the House with firmness and fairness. His contributions to the field of education, especially in the development of technical institutions, is noteworthy. Shri Joshi's calm demeanor, sharp intellect, and unwavering commitment towards democratic values earned him respect across party lines. I express my heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं आपको और इस सदन को मंत्री जी द्वारा दी गई श्रद्धांजलि से स्वयं को जोड़ते हुए दिवंगत श्री मनोहर जोशी जी को भावपूर्ण श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करती हूँ। वे एक ऐसे व्यक्ति थे जिनके व्यक्तित्व में एक विलक्षण विनम्रता, आत्मीयता और सरलता समाहित थी। मुझे उनके साथ एक सहयोगी के रूप में कार्य करने का सौभाग्य प्राप्त हुआ। वे अत्यंत ही मिलनसार, मधुरभाषी और विनम्र व्यक्तित्व के धनी थे। उन्होंने कभी किसी को अप्रिय अनुभव नहीं कराया। इस दुखद क्षण में मैं और मेरी पार्टी शोक संतप्त परिवार के प्रति अपनी गहरी संवेदनाएं व्यक्त करते हैं और ईश्वर से प्रार्थना करते हैं कि उनके परिवार को यह अपार दुख सहने की क्षमता दे। ओम शांति।
The House may stand in silence to express our deep sorrow. Om Shanti. Secretary General may convey the message of condolences to the bereaved family.
Sir, I will convey the message of condolences to the bereaved family.
Honorable Prime Minister to introduce the new ministers.
Sir, I find pleasure to introduce to you and through you to the House my colleagues, the new ministers. Ms. Kamaya, the Minister of Textiles, and Mr. Sankarshana, the Minister of Commerce and Industries.
Now, the question hour may begin. Question 101, Ms. Tabitha, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, thank you. We often speak about awareness of mental health, but in reality, a child may hide their pain behind a polite smile or good marks. In such cases, where is the real support system? I want to ask the Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, what concrete steps has the government taken to provide accessible and functional mental health support systems to students in schools?
Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Ms. Pratyusha, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, thank you. I thank the respected member for raising this vital concern. The mental health of children is a priority for the government. We have initiated several steps under the National Mental Health Program with special focus on early detection, counseling, and destigmatization of mental health issues among children and adolescents. To extend our support to school under School wellness program of Ayushman Bharat, students are receiving life skills training, stress management workshops, and emotional literacy sessions. KV's flagship program, Mano Darpan, provides psychological support to parents and students. We are replicating this model in other government schools. Secondly, digital initiatives. Telemanas 14416 provides 24/7 free counseling in regional languages. Lastly, policy and research interventions are also in motion. We are working with the Ministry of Women and Child Development and the Ministry of Education to integrate mental health into Anganwadi monitoring and NCERT life skills modules. Our mission is clear. No child should feel unheard, unsupported, or unseen. Every child deserves not just education, but emotional safety and mental well-being. And with this, I wish to conclude by leaving behind one thought. Not every wound bleeds. Some hide behind a child's smile. Let our policies reach where voices fade.
The floor is open for supplementary questions. Mr. Arnav, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, धन्यवाद। क्या सरकार ने ग्रामीण और अर्ध शहरी क्षेत्रों में भी मेंटल हेल्थ क्लिनिक या जागरूकता कार्यक्रम शुरू किया है, या ऐसे विषयों पर बात करना अभी भी टैबू है?
Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Ms. Pratyusha, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, धन्यवाद। सरकार मानती है कि मानसिक स्वास्थ्य पर खुलकर बात करना ग्रामीण और कस्बाई इलाकों में अभी भी चुनौतीपूर्ण है। इसलिए हमने कई विशेष कदम उठाए हैं। हर महीने प्राथमिक केंद्र पर निशुल्क मानसिक स्वास्थ्य शिविर आयोजित किए जाते हैं, जिनमें मनोचिकित्सक और क्लिनिकल साइकोलॉजिस्ट गांव में ही परामर्श देते हैं। अब मानसिक स्वास्थ्य परामर्श और दवाइयों को आयुष्मान भारत कार्ड के अंतर्गत भी कवर किया जा रहा है। स्वयं सहायता समूह सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप्स को प्रशिक्षित किया जा रहा है ताकि वह मानसिक स्वास्थ्य स्वयं सेवक बनकर गांव में शुरुआती समस्याओं को पहचान सके। माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, अंत में मैं बस इतना ही कहना चाहती हूँ, मन मंथन आरोग्य सुरक्षा का नूतन जय घोष किए, संग तन मन भी रहे स्वस्थ, यह भाव हृदय उद्बोध दिए। जन मन में एक नई चेतना, नवल शक्ति का सर संचार, मन मानस महकाने हित, अतुलित हम कार्य प्रबोध किए, अतुलित हम कार्य प्रबोध किए।
Question number 1 or 2, Mr. Ashok, please.
Respected Speaker, sir, I rise today to ask a question to the esteemed Minister of Civil Aviation on behalf of millions of passengers who fly every day with hope, trust, and increasingly fear. Is it true that some airline companies in our country are compromising with aviation safety standards, endangering the lives of citizens? लगता है ये सरकार भूल गई है कि हवाई जहाज चलाने और हवाई यात्रा करने में बहुत बड़ा फर्क है।
Kindly maintain the decorum of the house.
सरकार ये ध्यान में रखें कि हवाई यात्रा में एक छोटी सी भी चूक जान माल को जोखिम में डाल देती है। यात्रियों की सुरक्षा कोई हवाई बातें नहीं है जिसकी लैंडिंग कहीं भी, कभी भी या कैसे भी कर दी जाए। And most importantly, what action has the government taken against the DGCA, the very watchdog which was supposed to prevent all this mess in the first place? उड़ान लेने से पहले सुरक्षा की कसम तो लें, because मंत्री जी, this is not just about aircraft, this is about accountability.
Honorable Minister of Civil Aviation, Ms. Ashika, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir. I would also like to thank Honorable Member of Opposition for raising this important question. Yes, certain airline companies have violated aviation safety standards. These violations were serious, concerning, and completely unacceptable. However, it is important to understand that causes of such tragedies are often complex and multifactorial, while regulatory oversight and operational protocol for fall within our ministry's purview, it is equally true that manufacturing defects, technological malfunctions, unforeseen system failures can also play a role. These are not small slips. These are issues that demand correction, and correction has happened. Government regularizes with financial penalties, spot audits, ground inspection and surveillance raids has been initiated. Warner letters has been issued to top airline companies. Suspension of senior directors. क्योंकि हम जानते हैं खतरा सिर्फ तब तक नहीं होता जब प्लेन गिरे, खतरा तब होता है जब सिस्टम सो जाए. Now, to the most important part, accountability within the system. To the question asked by opposition, DGCA has been questioned. Yes, but not just questioned, it has been corrected. Continuing airworthiness managers who failed their duties were warned, fined, and in some cases removed. DGCA was instructed to tighten their training oversight. Repeated offenders were put under strictest surveillance. So to the opposition, criticize us, yes, hold us accountable, absolutely, but also acknowledge the fact that we are not flying without direction, we are flying with discipline.
Question number 103, Mr. Partha, please.
माननीय सभापति महोदय, धन्यवाद. कहा जाता है बदलाव की शुरुआत किताब से होती है, लेकिन कुछ बदलाव तो अभी भी ऐसे हैं जो सिर्फ किताब में ही रह जाते हैं. सर, National Education Policy (NEP) was introduced by the government on 29 July 2020. But it seems that the policy reached headlines of newspaper faster than reaching the classrooms of this country. NEP 2020 clearly states that students till grade 5 should be educated in their mother tongue or in local language. Yet the textbooks of tribal language in Karnataka seems to be under printing or under process. And sir, if government is being able to call this proudly as implementation, then I wonder what would they call negligency as.
Honorable Member to kindly conclude.
Sure, sir. To conclude, I would like to ask our Honorable Minister of Education, what are the steps taken by the government in order to implement National Education Policy 2020 in Karnataka, and what has been the real ground impact of these? Thank you.
Honorable Minister of Education, Ms. Nagasanjana, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, thank you. Though I must say I am genuinely impressed. The Honorable Member clearly did his homework on NEP 2020. But allow me to clear the air and show you what real implementation looks like. In Karnataka, the National Education Policy isn't some ornamental document buried under dusty files. It's alive and it is working. Over 1 crore children have already started school under Vidya Pravesh, a program that actually prepares them for formal education. Also today, pre-primary education is functional in more than 3,000 government schools. Now, if I may be so bold, that is not what negligency look like, is it? That's a transformation. And as for the mother tongue education, let me put this plainly. 117 language primers have been rolled out, including in languages like Tulu and Kodava. Because when a child learns in their own language, they don't just grasp the content, they thrive with confidence. That's why textbooks are now available in 7 different regional languages. Thiruvalluvar said centuries ago, Perumvattul yam arivadu illai, arivarinda makkat peralla pira. After all, of all the wealth we may know, there is nothing greater than educated children for a compassionate country.
Any supplementary questions? Ms. Nandika, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, I have listened to the schemes and initiatives being rolled out on paper. But let's be honest, if all of this is truly working, then why the dropout rate still alarmingly high in remote areas? So I stand here asking with concerned conviction. As of today, how many of the surreal initiatives are actually reaching the tribal and marginalized children who need them the most?
Honorable Minister of Education, Ms. Nagsanjana, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, thank you. And thank you, madam, for raising this. Yes, the dropout rates in remote area is real, and no, we are not sweeping it under the rug. First, residential schools have been strengthened because no child should have to choose between a bed and a book. And secondly, we have rolled out gender-sensitive programs. And as for the tribal and marginalized communities, we are not waiting for them to come to us. We are going to them with mother tongue education and support that actually makes sense on the ground. Yes, this kind of change does take time because even Rome wasn't built in a day, but we are building something, a system that reaches and truly includes.
Question number 104, Ms. Rashi, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय जी, धन्यवाद। हंसी लेकर निकले थे एक नई सुबह की ओर, कुछ कदमों में जिंदगी बिखर गई। चौराहों पर सड़कें नहीं मरती हैं, जी हाँ, चौराहों पर सड़कें नहीं मरती है, जिम्मेदारी मरती है, वो हर घर रोता है जब ऐसी लापरवाही जीती है।
Kindly maintain the decorum of the house.
महोदय, मैं यह जानना चाहती हूँ कि मलप्पुरम केरला में 1200 करोड़, जी हाँ, 1200 करोड़ की राष्ट्रीय राजमार्ग 67 यानी NH-66 परियोजना आखिरकार एक ऐसे क्षेत्र में कैसे स्वीकृत हो गई जो कि पानी से भरे धान के खेतों वाला इलाका था। अब जब ये सड़क जमीन में धंस गई है और इस दुर्घटना में जी 7 लोग घायल हुए हैं, तो क्या मंत्री जी इसे भी दैविक आपदा कहकर पल्ला झाड़ेंगे या स्वीकार करेंगे कि यह मानव जनित लापरवाही थी, तकनीकी, प्रशासनिक और राजनीतिक भी शायद।
Honorable Minister of Road, Transport and Highways, Ms. Nicole, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, thank you. Sir, I welcome the honorable member's passion, but let's replace rhetoric with reason. Yes, the NH-66 incident collapsed on the 19th of May 2025 around 2:30 p.m. Kuriyad Malappuram witnessed a 250-meter section of the under-construction NH-66 embankment fall onto a waterlogged paddy field. Well, this was a serious incident. Yes, it was caused due to poor drainage and yes, weak terrain. In response, what did the government do, you may ask? Well, NKR Constructions was fined and asked to revoke their license and asked to rebuild the section at the cost of rupees 80 crores. The project director and site engineer suspended. A national expert team comprising of IIT, CRRI and GSI is auditing 17 NH-66 sites across Kerala. But let me clarify with full responsibility that this government doesn't hide behind the so-called acts of God. We act with accountability. And let me also state, within 48 hours, structural assessments were initiated, penalties were announced, and recoveries were already under motion. If flaws were missed, they will be fixed and punished without any political eyewash. And to all those who say that this is a collapse of governance, I'd only say, जो सरकार देश को जोड़ने में लगी है, अरे जो सरकार देश को जोड़ने में लगी है, उनको जोड़ तोड़ की राजनीति ना सिखाइए। हमें कमेटियां बनाने की नहीं, सड़कें सुधारने की आदत है।
Any supplementary questions? Mr. Rathar, please.
क्या मंत्री जी को ये जानकारी है कि मीडिया की भारी कवरेज और जन आक्रोश के बावजूद NH-66 हादसे के पीड़ितों को अभी तक एक भी रुपए मुआवजे के तौर पर नहीं मिला है? क्या अब सरकार एक नई स्वतंत्र रोड सेफ्टी रेगुलेटर की स्थापना करेगी या फिर सुरक्षा इसी तरह सरकार की इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर परेड में एक बात की बात बने रहेगी? अगर ये सड़क फिर से गिरी तो क्या मंत्री जी इस्तीफा देंगे या फिर एक और IIT कमेटी का स्क्रिप्ट पहले से ही तैयार है?
Honorable Minister of Road, Transport and Highways, Ms. Nicole, please.
Yes, we are aware, and unlike some, we don't believe in compensating pain with press notes. As for the compensation process, it's already underway through the district collector, and payments are being disbursed, not just drafted. And
जिन्होंने रास्ते बनाए हैं उन्हीं से हिसाब भी लेंगे और रास्ता भी सुधारेंगे। अरे दीज आर द एसेट्स ऑफ माय कंट्री। जितनी चिंता और ओनरशिप मुझे अपनी घर की है उतनी ही ओनरशिप मुझे इस रोड पे भी है। To conclude that this government doesn't hide behind committees nor crumble under criticism. We act, we correct, and we deliver. Yes, the NH66 incident was a serious lapse, but our response was swifter than outrage. Honorable Speaker, sir, if this doesn't satisfy the honorable member, let's conduct a JPC inquiry where the honorable member will be its chairperson. And to all those who are expecting resignation, I'd only say, we don't resign when problems arise, we resolve them. Let me remind you of an old proverb from my mother tongue Malayalam. പരിഭവം പറയുന്നതിലല്ല പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾക്ക് പരിഹാരം കണ്ടെത്തുന്നതിലാണ് വിജയം, which directly translates to success lies in solving problems and not complaining, and that's the difference we bring.
Question number 105, Ms. Kanika, please.
माननीय सभापति महोदय, धन्यवाद। जो अपने आदिवासी अतीत को भूल जाता है वह अपनी जड़ों से कटकर रेत में खड़ा पेड़ बन जाता है। India's tribal heritage is a priceless part of our cultural fabric that must be preserved.
Honorable member to kindly conclude.
Sure, sir. Could the Honorable Minister of Tribal Affairs please inform this House what initiatives have been taken in the past 3 years to promote and preserve tribal heritage and the impact of these initiatives?
Honorable Minister of Tribal Affairs, Ms. Anusha, please.
As for the opposition's concern, I must assure this House that the government has most certainly not forgotten about tribal communities of India.
While some may choose to ignore progress, we choose to make it. In the last 3 years, we have sanctioned 11 tribal freedom fighters museums.
Because India's freedom story isn't complete without tribal heroes. We have also funded festivals like Hornbill that showcase tribal art. Protecting our people and preserving justice, that is the duty. It's not a favor, not a debate.
The floor is open for supplementary questions. Ms. Avika, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष, जो अपना भाषा खो देता है वो अपना अस्तित्व को भी खो देता है। इसी संदर्भ में मैं बस यह प्रश्न पूछना चाहती हूँ कि क्या सरकार ने अन्य संगठनों समेत गैर सरकारी संगठन यानी एनजीओ के साथ मिलकर कभी ऐसा सम्मेलन आयोजित किया है जहाँ हमारे ट्राइबल यानी आदिवासी भाषाओं के भाषिक संसाधनों का दस्तावेजीकरण किया गया हो?
Honorable Minister of Tribal Affairs, Ms. Anusha, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, thank you. Yes, the government has absolutely taken active steps to document and preserve the rich linguistic heritage of tribal communities. The ministry also funds research and documentation by trusted institutions. One standout example, the Bhasha Research and Publication Center to carry out the endangered tribal languages like Korku, Kolami, Wadi and Tali.
Now the question hour is over. Ms. Raya, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, 29 जुलाई 2025 को मैंने सदन में केंद्रीय शिक्षा संस्थानों में आरक्षण नीति को लेकर स्पष्ट बयान दिया था, परंतु सदन में उपस्थित मेरे मंत्री मित्र द्वारा एक मीडिया इंटरव्यू में मेरी बात को तोड़ मरोड़ कर पेश किया गया। उन्होंने कहा कि मैंने आरक्षण को अब आवश्यक नहीं बताया, जबकि ऐसा कोई बयान मैंने नहीं दिया। यह कृत्य सदन में दिए गए वक्तव्य की सार्वजनिक रूप से गलत व्याख्या है और विशेषाधिकार का स्पष्ट उल्लंघन है। इससे जनता भ्रमित होती है और मंत्री तथा संसद की गरिमा पर ठेस पहुंचती है। मैं इस विषय को विशेषाधिकार समिति को सौंपने का निवेदन करती हूं।
Ms. Raya, have you given a notice of it earlier? You may give due notice along with a newspaper cutting and I shall consider it. You cannot spring a surprise on me like this.
जी महोदय, मैंने आज 10 बजे सूचना दे दी है।
It will be examined once it comes to me. I shall consider it and let you know my decision.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं स्पष्ट करना चाहती हूँ कि मीडिया में दिया गया मेरा बयान मेरी व्यक्तिगत नीति व्याख्या पर आधारित था। यदि कोई गलतफहमी हुई हो तो मैं खेद प्रकट करती हूँ और विशेषाधिकार समिति की जांच में अपना पूरा सहयोग देने के लिए तत्पर हूँ।
Honorable Minister of Tourism, Ms. Dikshita, please.
I beg to lay on the table a copy of each of the following in both Hindi and English versions under subsection of Section 394 of the Companies Act 2013. Statements regarding the review by the government, the working of Chandigarh Industrial and Tourism Development Corporation Limited, Chandigarh for the year 25-26. Annual report of the Chandigarh Industrial and Tourism Development Corporation Limited for the year 25-26 along with audited accounts and comments of the Controller and Auditor General thereon.
Secretary General to report the message from the Upper Chamber of Youth Parliament.
Honorable Speaker, sir, I report the message received from the Secretary of the Upper Chamber of Youth Parliament. In accordance with the provisions of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business in the Upper Chamber of Youth Parliament, I am directed to enclose copies of the Jammu and Kashmir Appropriation Bill 2025 as passed by the Upper Chamber at its sitting on 8th August 2025.
Secretary General to lay on the table a copy of the bill passed by the Upper Chamber of Youth Parliament.
Sir, I lay on the table of the House a copy of the Jammu and Kashmir Appropriation Bill 2025 as passed by the Upper Chamber.
Honorable members, I have to make an announcement. On my behalf and on behalf of the honorable members of the House, I find great pleasure in extending a warm welcome to His Excellency Mr. Fernando Marcos Jr., Her Excellency Madam Louis Artino Marcos, and Her Excellency Maria Teresa Lazaro. They are on a visit to India as honored guests. It is a very high-power delegation. The delegation arrived on 4th of August on a Monday, 2025. They are now seated at the parliamentary special boxes. The three parliamentarians represent the expectations and aspirations of their citizens. We wish them a happy and fruitful stay in our country. We would also like to convey our warm greetings and very best wishes through them to His Excellency of Philippines, the government, and the friendly people of Philippines. Now, let us take up the calling attention motion. Ms. Nandita, Ms. Krishna, Ms. Shweta, and Mr. Pranav. Kindly call the attention of the concerned ministers. Ms. Nandita, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, सरकार डिजिटल इंडिया का ढोल पीटती रही, लेकिन जब बात आती है डिजिटल सिक्योरिटी की तो सरकार की चुप्पी साइलेंट मोड पे चली जाती है। आधार लीक, कोविन ब्रीच, केवाईसी डेटा ब्लैक मार्केट में हर बार नागरिकों का डेटा ऐसे बिखरा जैसे कोई जिम्मेदार ही नहीं है। सिर्फ जांच से भरोसा नहीं बनता। जी हाँ, जांच से भरोसा नहीं बनता, कानून से बनता है। सवाल बिल्कुल साफ है माननीय मंत्री महोदया, जब आपने डिजिटल इंडिया को इतना आगे बढ़ाया तो डेटा प्रोटेक्शन लॉ अब तक कागजों में ही क्यों रोक के रखा? क्योंकि अब मुद्दा सिर्फ डेटा नहीं है। अब सवाल ये है कि क्या देश के नागरिकों की प्राइवेसी आपकी प्राथमिकता में है भी या नहीं?
Ms. Krishna, please.
Honorable Speaker, Madam, thank you. The government leaves no stone unturned in showcasing the success of Digital India. Crores are being spent on flashy campaigns, digital summits, and viral slogans. But beyond the PR and the posters, the reality is that key ministers are functioning with outdated cybersecurity infrastructure, weak protection mechanisms, and dangerously low investment in digital safety. Just last year, the servers of the Indian Council of Medical Research were reportedly breached, exposing the personal data of over 80 crore citizens. आम आदमी का डेटा बिक रहा है। जी हाँ, कहते हैं आम आदमी का डेटा बिक रहा है और सरकार कहती है सब बढ़िया चल रहा है। Through you, I would like to ask, is Digital India truly a step towards digital empowerment, or has it become an optical illusion where the screens shine bright, but the system beneath is broken, exposed, and an easy prey for cyber criminals?
Honorable Minister of Electronics and Information Technology, Ms. Aditi, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, मैं विपक्ष के द्वारा राज्यसभा के माध्यम से मैं विपक्ष के द्वारा उठाए गए सवालों का जवाब देने के लिए सबसे पहले डेटा गोपनीयता और साइबर सुरक्षा सरकार के लिए केवल तकनीकी विषय नहीं है, ये नागरिकों के अधिकार, सुरक्षा और भरोसे से जुड़े मुद्दे हैं और सरकार की प्राथमिकता में आते हैं। अब चाहे बात हो आधार लीक, कोविन ब्रीच या फिर ICMR सर्वर हमलों की, तो सरकार ने इन घटनाओं को हल्के में नहीं लिया। हमने ना सिर्फ जांच करवाई बल्कि सुधार भी सुनिश्चित करवाया और सिस्टम को और भी मजबूत बनाया। और जहां विपक्ष सिर्फ इंक्वायरी का ताना देता है, वहां मैं एक चीज साफ कर देना चाहती हूं कि हमने डिजिटल व्यक्तिगत डेटा संरक्षण अधिनियम को लागू करके निजता के अधिकार को सिर्फ सिद्धांत नहीं, कानूनी हक बना दिया है। अब डेटा दुरुपयोग पर बिना अनुभूति डेटा लेना अपराध है। कंपनियां अनुपालन ढांचे के दायरे में हैं और तो और जवाबदेही और जुर्माना अब सिर्फ कागज की बातें नहीं, कानून की धाराएं हैं। माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, डिजिटल इंडिया कोई दिखावा नहीं है, ये दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा, सबसे तेज और सबसे समावेशी डिजिटल परिवर्तन है। और हम सिर्फ डेटा की बात नहीं करते, हम नागरिकों के विश्वास की बात करते हैं और ये सरकार सिर्फ जवाब नहीं देती बल्कि जवाबदेही निभाती है।
मिस श्वेता प्लीज।
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, आरबीआई की गाइडलाइंस और जीरो लाइबिलिटी नीति होने के बावजूद हर दिन यूपीआई फ्रॉड, फिशिंग और एआई स्कैम्स बढ़ते ही जा रहे हैं। जनता को सिर्फ ओटीपी और रेफरेंस नंबर मिलता है, रिफंड नहीं, इंसाफ नहीं। बैंक ऐप्स, टेलीकॉम कंपनियां एक दूसरे पर उंगली उठाती रहती हैं और ठगा गया आम आदमी हाथ मलता रह जाता है। मेरा सीधा सवाल है, कितने बैंकों पर जुर्माना लगाया गया है, कितने पीड़ितों को पूरा या आंशिक रिफंड मिला है और कितने ठगों को जेल भेजा गया है? एफआईआर दर्ज कर देना गिनती नहीं होती। जब सिस्टम सोता है तब स्कैमर्स जागते हैं। जननेता जवाबदेही है तब फिर क्यों भागते हैं?
मिस्टर प्रणव प्लीज।
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, even today, many people in India use digital payments without being aware of digital frauds like OTP scams, KYC traps, and phishing links. Will the Honorable Minister of Electronics and Information Technology kindly clarify to this House whether the government has taken steps to introduce cyber safety education in the rural areas?
Honorable Minister of Electronics and Information Technology, Ms. Aditi, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, मैं विपक्ष के द्वारा उठाए गए सवालों को सिर्फ एक राजनीतिक टिप्पणी नहीं बल्कि एक सार्थक और ज़रूरी चिंता मानती हूँ, क्योंकि आज जब हम डिजिटल इंडिया की बात करते हैं तो हमें ये भी ध्यान में रखना होगा कि डिजिटल सुरक्षा भी उतनी ही मजबूत हो। अब अगर तथ्यों की बात करें तो पिछले 18 महीनों में 150 से अधिक बैंकों पर जुर्माना लगाया जा चुका है, जहाँ भी सुरक्षा में लापरवाही या फिर तकनीकी त्रुटि देखी गई। 42,000 से ज़्यादा पीड़ितों को पूर्ण या आंशिक रिफंड दिया जा चुका है और इस प्रक्रिया को और भी तेज और पारदर्शी बनाया जा रहा है। 3200 से अधिक साइबर अपराधियों को गिरफ्तार किया जा चुका है और 900 से अधिक मामलों में तो न्यायिक कार्रवाई जारी है। और जहाँ तक जागरूकता की बात है तो कक्षा 6 से लेकर 12 तक साइबर अवेयरनेस को स्कूल पाठ्यक्रम में शामिल किया गया है ताकि बच्चे शुरुआत से ही सेफ डिजिटल प्रैक्टिसेस सीखें। अब तक 1.8 करोड़ से अधिक विद्यार्थियों को साइबर अवेयरनेस की शिक्षा दी जा चुकी है, जिनमें से लगभग 70% ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों से है। साथ ही गाँव और छोटे कस्बों में भी साइबर क्लिनिक शुरू किए जा रहे हैं, जहाँ लोग आसान शब्दों में समझ सके कि OTP क्या होता है, फिशिंग क्या होता है या फिर बचाव क्या कैसे करें। माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, हम ये तो वादा नहीं कर सकते कि स्कैम्स कभी नहीं होंगे, लेकिन हम ये ज़रूर वादा करते हैं कि हर पीड़ित को सिस्टम में अकेला नहीं छोड़ा जाएगा। यही हमारा फ़र्ज़ है और यही हमारी जवाबदेही।
Now it's time for some legislative business. I would like to call upon the Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Ms. Malishka, to move the motion for the leave to introduce the bill, Press Registration of Periodic Bills 2025. Ms. Malishka, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I beg to move for leave to introduce the press and registration of Periodic Bills 2025. I would also like to add that the matters referred to in clause A to H of subsection 2 shall not be held to prejudice or affect the general application of section 6 of the General Clauses Act 1897 with regard to the effect of such repeal.
Now, the question is that leave to be granted to introduce the bill, press registration of Periodic Bills 2025. Those in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those against will please say no. No. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Honorable Minister of Women and Child Development, Ms. Shri Gauri, to introduce the bill.
Honorable Speaker, sir, and the respected members of this House, today marks a historic milestone in our country's democratic journey. I rise with immense pride to introduce the Constitution 128th Amendment Bill, also known as the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. As the history goes, for decades, women in India have been the backbone of our society. But there is a problem that has persisted for just as many decades, the problem of underrepresentation. We are aware of the problem and we propose a solution. It's quite simple. A bill to reserve 1/3 of seats for women in the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies and your kind support. Now, I know what you must be thinking, but I'm really sorry to disappoint you. This bill is not just empty words tossed around in the name of sympathy. आपको मैं बता दूं, हम वो सरकार नहीं जो नाम से काम करवाते हैं, हम वो सरकार है जो काम से नाम कमाते हैं. Speaker, sir, within this work of ours, I would like to inform the House of the clauses. First, Article 330A provides reservation of 1/3 seats for women in the Lok Sabha. Second, Article 332A extends similar reservation as 330 in the state legislative assemblies. Third, Article 334A specifies that the reservation will come into effect after the first census and delimitation conducted after the Act's commencement and will remain in force for up to 15 years subjected to extension by the Parliament, meaning that its implementation will begin after the next census and delimitation expected after 2026, making the reservation likely effective by the 2029 general elections. Fourth, this reservation applies to seats within those already reserved for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes as well. Fifth and last, rotation of reserved seats will be decided by the Parliament through legislation. In essence, this bill seeks to empower women politically to take their rightful place in the legislative process. Through the Speaker, I urge all the members of this Parliament to set aside party barriers and support this bill. Thank you.
Motion moved. The bill Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam 2025 will be taken into consideration. Ms. Yugavarnika, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, I rise to speak not against the idea of reservation itself, but against the illusion that reservation alone can bring real empowerment. Let's not pretend that handing over a seat automatically hands over power, because if the woman occupying that seat has no voice, no freedom, and no understanding of policy, then what we are offering her is not empowerment. It's a nameplate, not a mandate. Reservation is a necessary entry point, but it is not the final answer. True political strength comes when women have education to read laws, challenge policies, and legislate boldly, awareness to understand their rights, responsibilities, and the communities they represent, independence to make decisions without being puppeteered by the husbands, fathers, or party handlers. काबिलियत को कोटे में मत तोलो. जहाँ संघर्ष ना हो, वहाँ मूल्य क्या होगा? जो मंच तक आए केवल कोटे से, वो निर्णय ले. ये कैसे संभव होगा?
Ms. Mukhil, please.
समानी ने जो हक छीना, समानी ने जो हक छीना, अब सदन वो हक लौटाएगा, और जो आवाज़ दबा दी गई थी अब संसद उसे बुलंद बनाएगा. Honorable Speaker, sir, and the respected members of the House. I rise today not just as a representative of my party, but as a voice for equality, progress, and long overdue justice. Today, we debate about the Women's Reservation Bill, a bill seeking to reserve 33% of its seats for women in the Lok Sabha and the State Legislative Assembly. And to those who ask why reservation, I ask why not? Women constitute nearly 50% of our population in India, yet barely 15% in the Lok Sabha. This is not equality, this is exclusion. और अब जब हम महिलाओं को सीट दे रहे हैं, तब विपक्ष नुकसान की बात कर रहे हैं. For years they delayed it, now they debate it. And then the opposition claims, I quote, that this bill is an illusion. To that, Honorable Speaker, sir, allow me to respond that yes, true empowerment does require education, awareness and independence. We agree. But let me ask you, should we wait till women are perfect by your standards? Because studies in India and abroad show that when women lead, societies thrive. And Panchayat reservations have successfully improved education, sanitation and local governance. So extending this to the parliament will only strengthen our democracy. Again, this bill is a step towards balance, not bias. So let history not say that we didn't give women a voice. Let it say we finally gave them the mic. Thus, I urge the House, let's pass this bill not for politics, but for the democracy women deserve. Because you call it illusion, we call it evolution.
Ms. Bhargavi, please.
Respected Speaker, sir. This bill, while presented as a step towards women empowerment, is in fact a betrayal, especially of OBC and Muslim women who have been historically underrepresented in the Indian politics. This bill doesn't ensure quota within quota is not inclusive but exclusionary. It risks becoming a tool to empower only section of women who are from already privileged backgrounds, while the truly marginalized women are pushed aside. Our share of dawn still hides in the darkness. Those who found light, how would they understand our pain? You speak of Nari Shakti, but what about the strength of Dalit women and Adivasi women, Muslim women? If empowerment is not intersectional, it's incomplete. If justice excludes the last person in the line, it's not justice at all. Sir, therefore I demand that this bill be re-examined with serious commitment towards social justice. Induce OBC and Muslim women into the framework if the true goal is equality.
Ms. Avani, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, thank you. Yatra naryastu पूज्यन्ते रमन्ते तत्र देवता. कहते हैं जहाँ नारी की पूजा होती है वहाँ देवता वास करते हैं. But honestly, respect doesn't just come from rituals. It also comes from representation. I first want to clarify. This bill is not a betrayal, nor is it a political stunt to gather the public's attention. Concerns have been raised by the opposition about the lack of quota within quota, especially for OBC and Muslim women. Yes, the opposition has a valid point. We're not dismissing it. However, subcategorization within the women's quota requires a clear legal and constitutional framework, which is still under judicial review. महोदय, बड़े फैसले केवल नियत और जज्बात से नहीं, संविधान से भी तो लिए जाते हैं. I assure this house कि ये कहानी का अंत नहीं, कहानी की शुरुआत है. Once women start entering political institutions in larger numbers, the next course of action will be greater diversity within that group. And this government is not shying away from that dialogue. यदि हम तरक्की से पहले ही शर्तें लगाना शुरू कर दें, तो तरक्की कभी हो ही नहीं पाएगी. Let us not freeze progress while waiting for perfection. Let's begin now and take small steps together, one at a time.
Mr. Shriram, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, thank you. The Women's Reservation Bill, while hailed as historic, is tied to future events. A census and a delimitation exercise that haven't even been scheduled yet. That means Indian women might have to wait until 2031 or even 2039 to see this promise turn into practice. We ask, why the delay? Why the conditions? Why was GST passed overnight? Why are ordinances bought with urgency but not this? If the government truly believes in Nari Shakti, it would implement this reservation immediately within the current framework without waiting for bureaucratic exercises.
Mr. Vignesh, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, thank you. And thank you, sir, for your concerns. There has been a lot of noise lately linking the Women's Reservation Bill to census and delimitation is just a stalling tactic. Let's clear that up. It is not a delay, it is a constitutional necessity. Delimitation isn't a bureaucratic red tape. It's how we keep this very parliament aligned with today's India, not yesterday's census. After all, what is the point of a policy that feels good today but gets struck down tomorrow? Or one that favors few states while the others ask, what about us? Justice must be complete, not convenient. And let's not pretend this government hasn't acted before. From Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao to ensuring women hold 80% of Jan Dhan accounts and record-breaking participation of women in panchayats. We have not just made announcements, we have built pathways. ये कानून कल का इंतज़ार नहीं करेगा. ये कानून कल का इंतज़ार नहीं करेगा क्योंकि नारी का सम्मान समय के मुहाफिज का नहीं, संविधान के फैसले का मामला है.
Ms. Parnika, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, धन्यवाद. आरक्षण, हाँ, लेकिन पावर कहाँ है? सिर्फ आरक्षण देने से कोई सुपर वुमन नहीं बन जाती भाई. आप लोगों ने आरक्षण दे दिया, बढ़िया है, हम ताली भी बजा लेते हैं. लेकिन असली सवाल ये है, सीट के साथ सीट का रिमोट किसके हाथ में है? क्योंकि असल में होता क्या है, महिलाएं सरपंच चुन ली जाती हैं और गांव में लोग कहते हैं हमारा सरपंच पति का राज है. मतलब सीट पर बैठी है मीना देवी और फैसले लिए जा रहे गजोदर भैया.
Kindly maintain the decorum.
पंचायत राज मंत्रालय 2018 की यह रिपोर्ट यही साफ साफ दर्शाती है कि कैसे कुछ राज्यों में 50% से अधिक महिला सरपंचों ने ये स्वीकार करा है कि आज भी फैसले उनके घर के पुरुष रिश्तेदार ही ले रहे हैं. तो फिर आप इसे सशक्तिकरण बोलने की हिम्मत मत करिएगा. सशक्तिकरण तब होगा जब महिलाएं वहाँ पे सिर्फ नाम के लिए नहीं बल्कि फैसले लेने के लिए भी वहाँ होंगी. जब महिला को बिठाया नहीं जाएगा जबकि सिखाया भी जाएगा, क्योंकि वरना आरक्षण से वे स्टाइलिश हटकंडा बनकर रह जाएगा जहाँ पे सबको दिखेगा वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट मगर असलियत में होगा मैन बिहाइंड द कर्टन्स.
Ms. Arpita, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, इस समय में एक चिंता बार बार उठ रही है कि महिलाओं को आरक्षण दे दिया तो क्या फायदा? फैसले तो उनके पति या पुरुष रिश्तेदार ही लेंगे. किंतु यह संपूर्ण सत्य नहीं है. सच्चाई तो यह है कि यदि हम इस महोदय समस्या आरक्षण में नहीं महिलाओं की तरक्की से है. धन्यवाद.
Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Eric, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं मंत्री द्वारा पेश किए गए नारी शक्ति वंदन अधिनियम का पूरी तरह से समर्थन करता हूँ. जैसे कि भारत की महान समाज सुधारिका सावित्रीबाई फुले ने कहा था, स्त्रियों को ना देवी मानने की जरूरत है और ना ही पूजने की, बल्कि स्त्री का सम्मान करना और उनको बराबरी का अधिकार देना जरूरी है. स्त्रियों को अधिकार और सम्मान देने की दिशा में हमारी सरकार ने महत्वपूर्ण कदम बढ़ाया है. आज महिलाएं हर सेक्टर में तेजी से आगे बढ़ रही है और नेतृत्व कर रही है. यह आवश्यक है कि नीति निर्धारण में भी हमारी नारी शक्ति का अधिकतम योगदान रहे. नारी शक्ति वंदन अधिनियम के माध्यम से हमारा लोकतंत्र और मजबूत होगा। लोकसभा और राज्य विधानसभाओं में 1/3 सीट आरक्षित करके नारी शक्ति वंदन अधिनियम महिलाओं को विधायी प्रक्रिया में उनका सही स्थान दिलाने की कोशिश करता है। कभी कभी किसी निर्णय में देश की भविष्य बदलने की क्षमता होती है। आज हम सब ऐसी ही एक निर्णय का साक्षी बनने जा रहे हैं। जिस बात का इस देश को कई दशकों से इंतजार था, वो सपना आज सच होगा। महिला आरक्षण विधेयक लागू होने के बाद हमारे महान देश भारत में सकारात्मक बदलाव आएगा, जहां पर महिला सशक्तिकरण सिर्फ एक नारा नहीं बल्कि एक क्रांति कहलाएगा।
Honorable Leader of Opposition, Ms. Anjali, please.
Honorable Speaker, Sir, I listened to the bill proposed by the respective minister and carefully thought about it. This bill has limitations, but I must admit that the advantages are more than the cons. Women are worshipped in slogans but betrayed in systems, and this bill must break that cycle. This bill is a great step taken towards women empowerment. However, I request respective minister to carefully think about each and every aspect of passing this bill for women welfare to make them more confident and more empowered.
Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Eric, please.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं इस सदन के माननीय सदस्यों से इस महत्वपूर्ण अधिनियम को पारित करने में सहयोग करने का आग्रह करता हूं। आपके समर्थन से हम इसे पूरा कर सकते हैं और दुनिया को यह साबित कर सकते हैं कि हम दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा लोकतंत्र क्यों है। आज की यह तारीख इतिहास में अमृत को प्राप्त करेगी। अंत में मैं यही कहना चाहता हूं, पुरानी सोच और नई बातें असल बदलाव नहीं लाती। हमें अपने कर्मों से परिवर्तन लाना है, केवल शब्दों से नहीं।
Honorable Minister of Women and Child Development, Ms. Shri Gauri, please.
Honorable Speaker, sir, as we conclude, let me make it a point to repeat. This bill is not just a policy which will disappear to exist as the opposition claims. It is a commitment, our commitment, one to empower women politically, one to ensure their rightful place in the legislative process, and one to voice their precious views. आपकी मदद से बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ के नहीं, बेटी पढ़ाओ नेता बनाओ के नारे लगेंगे भारत में। During the debate, the opposition's views and queries have clearly been insightful, and I hope we have given fitting replies. But in any case, if your concerns are valid, the bill will definitely be re-examined. I assure you of that. But in the meantime, we only request your support. We now have the power to make this happen, and let us make this happen. Thank you.
Now the question is, leave to be granted to consider the bill Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam 2025. Those in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those against will please say no. No. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Now, clause by clause consideration. The question is that clauses 1 to 5 stand part of the bill. There is an objection by Mr. Suhas in clause 4. Mr. Suhas, are you moving it?
No, sir, not moving.
Now the question is, clauses 1 to 5 stands part of the bill. Those in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those against will please say no. No. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Clause 1 to 5 will stand part of the bill.
Sir, I move the bill be passed.
Motion moved. The bill is passed. Those in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those against will please say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. The bill is passed and the motion is adopted. The House is adjourned for today. We shall meet tomorrow at 11 a.m.